making films, very famous films on Buddhism. Some of them are very interesting, and some of them got prizes, like the cup. Okay, so today is a special day for question and answers, and we are at the end of the first part. Huh? So today I can just teach you a few lines, which just example. Hmm? And then we come to the end of the first scroll. And the second scroll then is dealing with the subject of the what Professor Lusthaus calls habituation or something like that. But I call it by common name. That means permeation. Huh? Permeation may be all right for chi. Huh? So anyway, we are going then to the next topic, and before we go to the next topic, I want to discuss with you the what we have covered. If there are any questions, if not, we can continue. But I guess should be some questions because it's not easy to understand.
Okay, before I ask, Piana, have you already put Fase in highlight? Johan, he has a few things to do.
Oh, yes, Pablo.
Already?
Already.
Okay. Pastor, I have a few questions. First, the question is a bit general. My first question.
Okay.
If I read the later part of the text, it seems less difficult than the earlier part
Yes,
text.
that's why the first part is called the explanation, and it is more philosophical, and the philosophy is difficult because one has to know the background of the Tathagata Garbha philosophy, and also the Huayan, because the Huayan is a base for this. As you know, the Ashwagosha is the first patriarch of Huayan, and more or less what we the end of what we came yesterday is just explaining the Hawaiian philosophy. Hmm? That the essence stays and the characteristics always changing. Hmm? This is explained by Fazang by this example of the golden lion. You may have heard of this simile of the golden lion. Hmm? The Fazang explained to the Empress Wu the principle of Huayan on the base of this simile, that the gold is like the Tathagata Garbha, or like the one mind, and the lion is just a characteristic, and from the you can make a lion, you can make anything if you have the gold, but the if you make a lion, it represents like the characteristics, and the gold, even though you make it into the lion, the nature of the pure gold, it does not change. So after this example, then This example explains this question which came cropped out. If mind ceases, how can there be continuity? And if there is continuity, how can there be a talk of an ultimate cessation, nirvana? Answer: what we call cessation is only the cessation of mind images. Mind images are the characteristic, yang, or nimitta. And as I have explained before, this nimitta is the condition for arising of the phenomena. Without the nimitta, without the sign, there is no perception, and without perception, there is no uh, sensation, and without sensation, there is no differentiating worldly mind. So, uh, so these mind images or nimittas or arising of phenomena always changing, but not the mind essence. The mind essence in Chinese is called Bodhi. Qi. This Qi stands also for Li in Chinese philosophy or in Huayan. The Qi and the Li, they are synonyms. So, as you know, the Huayan philosophy is based on uh, the interaction between Li and She without any boundary, without any uh, hindrance. Hmm? So the ideal is that the essence of the mind and the images and phenomena or arising of phenomena, they have no obstacle between them. Hmm? And this is explained wonderfully in Hawaiian philosophy. They always interact. If the Li and She interact, then the She and She, then the things also interact. Then you have everything in one atom, and everything uh, can be what you say, condensed in one atom also. So everything is connected with everything, and that is the famous Indrajala. The Indrajala means the net of the Indra, the net made of jewels in which in each and every jewel, the infinite jewels are reflected. Hmm? So, so the one who asks the question uh, takes the images as being the essence, but the essence images are always subjected to arising and ceasing, but the essence cannot cease, because without the essence there are no beings. The essence being the mind, and we have learned that from this one mind, from the Tathagata Gamba, everything arises. So if the essence ceases, that means that the author is proposing a nihilism, one loon. But if he proposes nihilism, the Buddhism always teaches it is better to have eye view as high as Mount Sumeru than to have the nihilistic view. The cessation of the mind is not nihilistic view, because the essence of the mind can never cease. What ceases are only the characteristics or things or images or nimittas. So when as we have learned, the process of ignorance starts, or process of non-seeing start with avidya, with wombing, with non-fields. And non-fields leads to the karmic consciousness. Karmic consciousness comes together with the evolving mind and or the Chuan or the Tien aspect of Alaya. When there is a Tien aspect, the seeing aspect of Alaya, naturally there will be Nimitta aspect, Yang. Then Xiangfen, Tianfen, Yefen come together. Then starts a differentiation. When the differentiation starts, then the Wang Xiang, the illusionary thinking, and with illusionary thinking, then the six consciousnesses appear. And so the beings are supposed to work. So next, the author, we can read this part just for today, because we should have read it yesterday. It still belongs to the yesterday, last week. It still belongs to the question. He gives a simile. It is like the wind having the characteristic of movement. So the wind, if you remember, is compared to ignorance. Also in Lankavatara Sutra, as far as I remember. So when there is wind, the water is in movement. Now, water stands for dharmata, pashin. The pashin, water moves when the wind blows. So we have seen the wind can blow very heavily when we have the six consciousnesses. Then it is a soft blowing when the manas comes in, and it is a very, very soft blowing when there is this alaya vijnana. So the wind of ignorance grows as we go from alaya to manas, and alaya and manas, they are connected, as we have seen. 5 aspects of the mind make the manas, including the alaya. Then, when we believe that on the base of illusionary thinking the outer objects really exist, then the big wind comes, and this is compared to the 6 vijnanas based on mano vijnana. The 5 consciousnesses cannot work if they can only work on the base of the mental consciousness. And the mental consciousness works on the base of continuity, which is manas. And the manas works based on alaya, which are these 3 aspects. The aspect of the karmic consciousness, aspect of the evolving consciousness, avarjana, and the aspect of the revealing consciousness, Kyate Vijnana, Yesha, Zhuansha, and Xiansha in Chinese. So here we are, from a small wind of ignorance to a more stronger wind of ignorance, and from stronger wind of ignorance, our situation when we tend to believe that our distinctions outside are truth and the only truth, and we argue about this truth and we take it for the true reality. Hmm? So the text disappears. It is like the wind having the characteristic, the yang, of movement. Hmm? Of so when there is a yang, so the water flows, liu, shui liu, because of yang. Hmm? But the water itself, as long as it is there, it will be ruffled or it will have tendency to flow. But if the water disappears, then the movement on water disappears also. Hmm? So this movement or xiang appears, as we have learned, in alaya. Hmm? Alaya has karmic aspect, has the avarjana aspect, evolving aspect, juan, shi, and has xian shi. So if the movement disappears, then the alaya disappears. The alaya will then be turned to wisdom, the mirror wisdom, the transformation of consciousness to wisdom. And it starts with always with the mirror consciousness, which is alaya. When mirror consciousness turns to wisdom, the manas consciousness, the individualizing consciousness, becomes the wisdom of sameness, samatha. Then the mental consciousness becomes the wisdom of the miao guan, the beautiful observation. And when the mental consciousness, which is a base for the five sense consciousnesses, uh, it changes to beautiful observation, then the five consciousnesses turn to uh, Cheng So Zuo, the result, success in everything one does, or accomplishing whatever one does. So, so as the water does not disappear, the characteristic of wind will continue, or has continuity. Only when wind ceases, cessation of characteristic of movement will follow, and not that of water. We have learned before that the water can cease, but its essence, the wetness, cannot cease. So even if water disappears, the wetness can never disappear, and wetness is the dharma. In case of avidya, it is the same. As it moves based on mind essence, we have learned that everything arises based on mind essence, which is the Tathagata Garbha, Rulai Zhang, or Buddha nature, for Xing. So, in other words, there has to be Xing Ti, there has to be essence of the mind that there arises characteristic and movement. We have learned this before. Should the Xing Ti, the essence of mind, be destroyed, that would be annihilation of sentient beings, because the sentient beings without mind are not sentient beings. As their existence of sentient beings would have not any support. That there has to be water, there has to be dharmata, beings have support, so they can move. As essence of mind does not cease, mind has continuity. The essence of mind can never cease, therefore the mind has continuity. Because the six consciousnesses have no continuity. Continuity comes from manas, we have learned, and continuity is equal to manas. This is special thesis of this treatise, which is different from the classical Yogacara, represented mostly by Xuanzang in China. So the continuity is normally given by the alaya, but here by manas, and the manas has five aspects. Only with ignorance or moha annihilated can the characteristic of samsara cease accordingly. So the water can cease. The water is like alaya, but its wetness, that means the Buddha nature, can never cease. Water, standing here for alaya. Alaya also is inseparable in a way from dharmata. That is Lankavatara, put them together. The alaya, normally alaya and Buddha nature are neither same nor different. But in one place, the Lankavatara says that they are actually not different. But not different here does not mean necessarily they are the same. So here, they are actually not the same. So the water can cease, but the wetness can never cease. Water can be evaporated, but not. That means alaya can turn into wisdom. Alaya linguistically means a mind which dwells. Even the arahat is called the one whose mind does not dwell in the world. But here we are concerned with a different situation. This Buddha nature always dwells. And it cannot be interrupted, it cannot be, and it also creates the characteristics, and that is also connected with its function. So we have learned that that which has no form, when it we understand it, it has a three greatness. The greatness already is comparison to smallness. It has a greatness of the essence, the greatness of the characteristic, and greatness of the functions. So this refers us back to the beginning. In the beginning, we have all already discussed that this Buddha nature or Tathagata Dharma is cannot be grasped, cannot be explained cannot be understood by normal means, but when we can use it, then it has a great essence, a great characteristics and great functions. Da Ti, Da Xiang, Da Yong. So this Tathagata Garbha can never cease, but the alaya can be turned into the wisdom of great mirror. So automatically the manas, the manovigyana, and the five consciousnesses also become the wisdoms, as we have explained before. So the wetness of the water is compared to the awareness, which is the essence of wisdom. The awareness is the mind nature. There is no mind without awareness. And this awareness or wisdom or vipassana or knowledge can never cease. So because this knowledge is the base of existence, awareness is a base of existence. If you consider it to be annihilated, to cease, then you are annihilation, you are advocate of nihilism, as we have explained. So beings move based on chitta. And as you know, the chitta is the synonym of alaya, consciousness, the eight consciousness. When the alaya moves, because it has the aspect of the karmic consciousness, which becomes the Chuansha Avarjana Chitta, evolving consciousness. And from evolving consciousness, we have the Yati Chitta, the manifesting consciousness. So we are moving. The mind is moving because the Chitta dwells in the world. Alaya dwells in the world like Himalaya. Snow dwells in the mountains where we are right now. But no snow, but lot of rain. So when the chitta moves, the manas moves, the seven consciousness. And when the seven consciousness moves, unless we are enlightened, the six consciousnesses will also move, and we will judge according to the six consciousnesses, which are always related to the relative truth, not to the highest truth of the suchness. And for this tradition, the suchness is the, uh, the truth of mind only. Mind only is a suchness. This is Vijnanavada. So Vijnanavada speaks of, if you read the Sandhi Nirmochana Sutra or Mahayana Sutra Alankara, there are seven kinds of suchnesses, or seven kinds of truths that nobody can challenge. And so these truths, they cannot be challenged. And these are the Four Noble Truths. Then the Asvabhava, the non-self characteristic, then the mind only, and the truth that whatever is compounded cannot be the uh, highest reality. So these seven suchnesses cannot be challenged in this tradition. And due to not understanding these seven suchnesses, we have eight vikalpas, penpie, that means seeing the own characteristic where there is no stable own characteristic, seeing the truth of outer objects where there is actually only in relation to consciousness, and seeing the truth in the compounded, which cannot be, the truth cannot be the ultimate truth, then the seeing the self, Atma, seeing that which belongs to the self, and on the base of self and what belongs to the self, then distinguishing the manapa, amanapa, and na manapa, na amanapa, the pleasant, not pleasant, and neither pleasant nor unpleasant, as being something which has the like uh, ultimate value. So in the next chapters, and we will talk about the vasanas, how they mutually influence each other. The suchness permeates the ignorance, and ignorance permeates the suchness. Due to permeating suchness by ignorance, we create illusionary thinking. When we create illusionary thinking, the illusionary thinking again strengthens the ignorance, and ignorance permeates more the suchness, and so we believe illusionary thinking to be true, so believe also the objects created by illusionary thinking to be true, which again strengthens the illusionary thinking, which again strengthens the ignorance, and again strengthens the influence of ignorance on suchness, so that we don't see the truth of one mind. So even according to the classical Vijnanavada, classical Yogacara, only the Buddha himself can see the completely the truth of the mind only. Even the enlightened persons cannot see it completely. So that much for before going to the process of permeation or process of the which is a special characteristic of this tradition. Remember, there are two traditions in the Vijnanavada: the tradition of alaya consciousness, dependent origination, and tradition of the Buddha nature, dependent origination. So this is the scripture we are discussing. It's the, in Chinese tradition, the most outstanding representation of this dependent origination based on Buddha nature or on Tathagata, the metrics of Tathagata. And the Sandi Nirmochana Sutra, Tiechen meeting, is explained the dependent origination based on alaya, which is a base for the Yogacara Bhumi Shastra, the most important scripture for understanding this tradition. Okay, so it took us half an hour to explain, and we still have 1 hour or more questions concerning, and I hope Agus, as usual, will not be the only one to ask. So, of course, this first chapter or scroll is extremely important and difficult to understand. We have to go through it again and again. And as we have seen, everything is interconnected. So first, the process of liberation is explained from the point of view of ignorance coming to wisdom. Then we have from wisdom coming to ignorance, then again from ignorance to wisdom, and again from wisdom to ignorance. So, uh, so it makes it sure that we understand how the alaya works, how the manas works based on alaya, and how based on manas the six consciousnesses, which also puts them together. Because there cannot be any seeing, there cannot be any hearing without the mental consciousness. We have, I think, explained in Abhidharma, it is compared to a drum. 5 black stones on the drum. If the one stone moves and drum starts to have sound, then all the other 4 consciousnesses are automatically activated. And this is a monkey mind, of course. So that is why the emphasis of the scripture and of this tradition in general is on shamatha. Through shamatha, we get to understanding the state of non-thinking. And through the state of non-thinking, we can understand the illusionary nature of the thinking mind, moving mind. And all we understand is through the moving mind. And because of moving mind, we understand the outside world. And the outside world, of course, is not true in this tradition because it only exists in relation to the mind. So as Vasubandhu explains, the same river is seen as a stream of light by the divine beings, is seen as a river by humans, seen as a food by animals, and seen as an abode by fish, and so on and so on, and seen as the possibility of multiplication by the insects, because without humidity they cannot multiply, and so on. Okay, so any questions coming along?
Sir, in the previous chapter, I would like to read it. It is about the characteristic of the essence of enlightenment. There is
Hmm?
4 characteristic. For instance, the second characteristic is it is
Which
as
which part you are? Oh, that means before this
yes,
four. Yes, okay.
yes.
Yes,
So the essence of enlightenment, it is as it were like a mirror
yes,
influencing, and the word influencing is pasana. Uh,
Let me see the Chinese text. Huh? You are referring to these four mirrors. Okay?
yes, yes. So the mirror influencing Vasana all human being to advance toward enlightenment, serving as the primary cause of their attaining enlightenment. This is
So,
the second characteristic. And also the fourth characteristic is it is like a mirror influencing a person to cultivate his capacity for goodness, serving as.
okay.
So my question is how the absolute part interact with the conventional part.
Well, this is a big question in Chinese Buddhism, of course. As you know, the Lusthaus, he has done a big research on that. And as you know, there is an interpretation of Hui Yuan, who is uh, the, the founding patriarch of the school of the Pure Land sect, Chintu. And according to his understanding, from what Lusthaus says, the uh, they can never interact, they only seemingly interact. So there is no true interaction. But the this Yuan Chao, the Korean monk, disciple of Xuanzang, and according to him also Fazang, they believe they do actually interact. And they have to interact, otherwise it does not, the second chapter has no meaning. There has to be real interaction. And this interaction is made possible because at this treatise, everything arises on the base of uh, the Buddha nature. If there is no Buddha nature, then the mind has no support. And if the mind has no support, it cannot create anything. So the alaya consciousness and the uh, Buddha nature, they are generally, according to Fazang, according to uh, Yuan Chao, they are neither same nor different. They are just like cause and effect. Cause and effect can neither be same nor different. This comes even in Visuddhimagga. Anya, they cannot be same, cannot be different. And this is the mystery of dependent origination. Now, in this tradition, everything is and has to be supported by the Buddha nature. The Buddha nature is, however, has a similar function like the alaya. If you remember, alaya has three functions: meng, mengzang, suozang, and shefa. It it can be subject of vasana, it can be object of the vasanas, and it can create also all the dharmas and can contain all the dharmas. So here in this tradition, the same attribute, three attributes of alaya are attributed also to the Tathagata Garbha. Tathagata Garbha also can be subject to vasanas, to the habits, can be object to habits, and can create all the phenomena. So, but yet they are neither same nor different, because the alaya consciousness is the result of the uh, Buddha nature, or of the matrix of Tathagata. So the Lankavatara Sutra, as you know, is the base of Zen. It says that actually they are not different. It does not say that they are same. It says that they are not different. And this treatise is very much connected, to the extent that some scholars even believe it is based on Bodhiruchi's translation of Lankavatara. As you know, there are other translations of Lankavatara which have criticized Bodhiruchi's translation. It comes in the Professor Lust house also. You remember? So, according to this author, he ascribes the same three functions of alaya also to the Tathagata Garbha. And that would explain the Bodhiruchi's idea that they are actually not different. So both the alaya can create all the phenomena and can be subject of all the phenomena, and can be also object of all the phenomena. But the alaya is uh, uh, the it's the vipaka vijnana. It is a resultant consciousness. But the Tathagata Garbha is not a resultant consciousness, because it is the base of all sentient beings. Without it, they cannot exist. So there is a relation, but they are not the same. So the alaya consciousness cannot exist without the Tathagata Garbha, and the Tathagata Garbha, due to Tathagata Garbha, the alaya consciousness can be transformed into pure awareness. Starting with, as we have said, the alaya consciousness become the wisdom of the great mirror, the manas consciousness, the individualizing consciousness become the wisdom of sameness, Pingtanger, the Manovijnana become the wisdom of beautiful observation. We have explained the Miao Quan, and the five consciousnesses become the wisdom of accomplishing whatever one does. Feng Shuo Zuo. So here we are. This is a philosophical justification of this treatise. The alaya, as we have learned in the first part, has the two aspects, the body aspect, jue, and the pu-jue aspect, and the aspect of no body. This body aspect and non-body aspect, they are related. We cannot know the body without knowing non-body. We cannot know non-body without relating it to body. This was a beginning of explaining the process of liberation. So, because we believe there is a body, so we stop the the harmful thinking. When we stop the harmful thinking, we become noble Pritajana, noble common beings. When we can become noble common beings, we can attain the understanding that the continuity of mind is not real. This is a realization of the Shravakas and the realization of the Bodhisattvas who have realized the faith, if you remember. Then we can realize that actually this not only that the continuity is not real, but that the real mind is the suchness, and the suchness is the only thing that really exists. There is only one reality. And this is a realization of the Bodhisattva Bhumi. When we realize the Bodhisattva Bhumi, we are sure to attain the perfect enlightenment. When we realize the uh, illusionary nature of continuity of the mind, we can realize the Arahat state. But the Arahat state in this tradition is inferior to the, uh, the perfect enlightenment. So the Buddha, as in the Lotus Sutra, which is so important in Chinese tradition, the Buddha, like the good father, he uses all kinds of skillful means to lure his son to understand how rich he is. His son leaves him because he does not understand how all the richness his father stands for the Buddha, of course. And he does not believe, so he wanders around the world doing all kinds of odd jobs and suffering terribly. Then he returns to father, and father uses all kinds of skillful means to lead him to the truth of the Buddha, which is the ultimate truth of the Dharmakaya, which actually never changes, and which is the base for the true awareness or the true purity of the mind. According to the Theravada, this mind is pure because of bhavanga. But in the Mahayana tradition, the mind, this Babhasaram Chitam, the luminous mind, as Anguttara Nikaya explained, the the scriptures of Shravakas explain it as Bhavanga or Alaya. But this tradition explains it as the Buddha nature. The Buddha nature is always luminous, always clear, and as the Mahayana Nirvana Sutra explains, it is not separated from the arising of phenomena. So Mahayana Nirvana Sutra explains that as opposed to the nirvana of the Shravakas, the nirvana of the Bodhisattvas has also the Shyam, the Nimitta. That is a pure land idea. So in this way, uh, the Tathagata Dharma, like the good father of the Lotus Sutra, influences us, the the non-enlightened beings finds a skillful means. So that's how the suchness permeates the uh, ignorance, and ignorance again permeate the suchness. And the second part of this scripture explains how it happens. So I won't jump forward, but it is explained in a very wonderful way. So there is the inner permeation by suchness, and there is the outer permeation by suchness. Due to these two permeations, we ignorant beings can finally reduce the hold of outer objects on us. Then we will reduce the hold of illusionary thinking on us, and then we can get the true bodhisattva realization that there is only one reality, nothing else. And in this reality, this reality is not against the form. Even in the nirvana, then the form exists. This is pure-land idea. This is the idea of the three kayas, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and the Nirvana Kaya. They exist side by side. And the Buddha is the true realization, bodhisattva realization, is inseparable from these three kayas, three bodies. So I hope my explanation makes sense. Are you convinced that it makes sense?
Okay, Pastor. Pastor, there is another question, I guess, from
Okay.
Fernanda Elias. Could you just unmute yourself, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Bante, in terms of movement, what do you think it happens to Bahia mind when he listens Buddha's teaching?
What happens to Bahia? You mean outer mind? Huh? Or what do you mean by Bahia mind?
Bahia, the old man who thought he was enlightened, but he wasn't. So he went to Buddha to ask for teaching. And when he listened his teaching, he somehow become an arahant. But what happened to his mind? How was his mind before, and how was his mind after Buddha's teaching in
Oh, it is
terms of
very
movement?
simple. It is very simple. Because he understood the illusionary nature of the ignorance, so he stays in the wisdom. The wisdom is enlightenment. Enlightenment is wisdom. So he understood the illusionary nature of ignorance. From ignorance, Buddha explains the dependent origination. Based on ignorance, we make the will formations. Due to will formations, we cling to differentiating consciousness. Because we cling to differentiating consciousness, we are reborn. When we are reborn, as a differentiating consciousness, then we differentiate between nama rupa, the form, and the mind, which nama literally means not the mind which bends to the form, to the rupa. Then it develops, consciousness develops into the six inner bases and six outer bases. Then there is a contact. On the base of contact, there is a consciousness. there is a sensation. Because we cling to sensation, we produce new formations, clinging, new existence. And then due to new existence, a new suffering, the Arahat understands all this. So the ignorance stops to function. So he understands, he's free. The uh, content of ignorance is four viparyasas, four, how to translate viparyasa, the four perversions. The first is to consider that which is impermanent is permanent. Arahat is free from this perversion. Second is to consider that which is impermanent as bringing uh, the continuity in happiness, or some happiness which continues, which is also Arahat does not have it. He does not believe that there is happiness in impermanence. Then whatever is impermanent and cannot bring lasting happiness, cannot be the self, Arahat does not have any idea that there is a true self. So also he does not believe that this mind and body attached to this mind is pure. So he gets rid of the fourth perversion of seeing purity in that which is impure, which that which is impermanent cannot bring lasting happiness, and which is not self. So here we are, he becomes an arahat. Bye bye samsara. Hmm? And he stays in nirvana, so no Mara can find him, and he cannot be reborn because there is no cause of being reborn. But this idea of not being reborn again becomes not satisfactory, and so there comes the idea of the bodhisattva, who bodhisattva's understanding is based on one reality, non-dualistic reality. So in this tradition, they believe that this, based on the Lotus Sutra, that this dualistic liberation, nirvana as opposed to samsara, is only Buddha's skillful means to lead the disciples to the true liberation, which is the understanding of one reality, representing as emptiness or suchness in a emptiness in a non-dual understanding. Emptiness in non-dual understanding. Studying Buddhism, one has to understand emptiness. No Buddhism, no emptiness. But in this tradition, non-dualistic emptiness, no difference between samsara and nirvana. And this non-dualistic emptiness is called suchness. And the Buddha is also, true Buddha is also called, identified with suchness. He is the Dharmakaya, and Dharmakaya is identified with Dharmadhatu, with Dharma, uh, uh, Dharmata, the things, the way the things are. And then the meditation also changes. The aim of meditation is to understand Dharmata. So the Vipassana becomes the awareness of Dharmata. Not just awareness of the impermanence, which is a base for understanding Dharmata. Okay? Clear?
Okay, kind of clear. Thank you.
So where are you now?
I live in Chile, in south of Chile. So you can check on the map on your
Terra,
clothes.
Terra del Fuego. ¿Sí? Terra del Fuego.
A little bit north, in Patagonia.
Okay. Catalonia.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So that was one question. Very nice you asked. I hope you will get some clarity. And how about other questions? We still have time. You
Uh,
have some more question?
yes, please. May I ask something else?
Okay.
Bante, the mind is in constant movement,
Yes.
related
Indeed.
to grasping or abortion. But just before this movement, there is evaluation or sanya. So when sanya becomes weaker, tanha also becomes weaker, and somehow the mind comes out of this tiny dark box of thoughts, which is a type of liberation. And which type of liberation is that, if I'm
Actually,
correct?
the sanya should not become weak. Sanya should become very clear, as opposed to the stupid people. They have a very weak sanya, but the intelligent people, they have a very clear sanya. Hmm? Due to clear sanya, they have the clear Vedana, because Sanya is the cause of Vedana. Hmm? Without perception, we cannot have feeling, we cannot have sensation. And because of sensation, we have the differentiating mind. But this differentiating mind, if there is ignorance, creates bondage. If there is no uh, clinging to differentiating mind, then this differentiating mind becomes wisdom. Hmm? The Arahat, and even much more so in this tradition for a bodhisattva, they have a very clear feeling, but they do not cling to it because they don't cling to differentiating consciousness. Due to clinging to Vedana, there is clinging to differentiating consciousness. And due to clinging to differentiating consciousness, there is this samsaric existence based on karma. Karma means accumulation of the samskaras, of the will formations. When we accumulate will formations, we cling to differentiating consciousness, vijnana. And when we cling to differentiating consciousness, we cling to Vedana, to sensation. And when we cling to sensation, we cling to existence. And when we cling to existence, we paradoxically, we cling to suffering. Okay? Clear?
Okay, thank you.
So any other questions from Fernando Elias? Is our old friend Fernando, is it? ¿Cómo estás, Fernando? No, he's not. No, it's a son, a different person. You are Fernando.
Fernanda, yes, from Chile.
Fernanda. Oh, okay. I thought Fernando from Madrid. Sorry. I did not see that. Okay. So let us give chance to others to ask. Okay,
Yes.
Fernanda. Hasta luego. So you can switch off your. And then others cannot see. Any other questions, Zviana? Never mind. Okay. Johan, you are not. You are also silent.
I'm sorry, Bante, Father, because I'm have a incident, so I just go to take care of that incident first, Father. I just joined. So sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So who, if there are no any questions, so we will finish here because.
Bande, I have a question.
Okay, somebody here has a question.
So, can I ask, is the knowledge from sudden enlightenment the same as knowledge of Allah?
No, sudden enlightenment is not enlightenment. It is only the skillful means for attaining enlightenment. Only the Buddha has a true sudden enlightenment. Nobody except Buddha has a true sudden enlightenment. So the sudden enlightenment, satori, is kind of understanding which leads to the ultimate enlightenment. So the sudden enlightenment is just a method to lead you to the true enlightenment, which continues. Sudden enlightenment, in our case, will not continue, and that which not continues cannot be true enlightenment. It is only a method to attain the true enlightenment. So you have two approaches, the Shenshu, the gradual enlightenment, and the Huineng, the sudden enlightenment. Both are dependent on each other. You cannot have them separately. This is Zen. Okay. Any other question? Oh yeah, our old
Faster.
friend. How have you been
Faster.
doing? Yes, please.
Faster. I have a question. Is I have an experience that there is awareness, aware of the awareness of the eye seeing, the awareness of the touching, awareness of the hearing, and so
Yes.
on. So my question is, that awareness is manas or alaya awareness?
Actually, this you cannot separate them. You cannot separate them. If you consider this to be something real, then it is vijnana. If you understand that their object does not really exist separate from the individual consciousness, then they are related to manas. And when you understand manas, you go to the more subtle, as we have learned, more subtle form of mind. And when you penetrate the manas, then you can turn the alaya consciousness into great mirror. And these four aspects of the mirror, which we have learned, they then appear spontaneously. So you become Buddha. So we have learned there are big waves, there are smaller waves, there are tiny waves, and there are no waves. So if the outer objects, you consider them as objects of grasping, these are the big waves, which then take hold of illusionary thinking. So the illusionary thinking will get hold of the manas of individual consciousness, and the individual consciousness will then completely cover the truth of the Buddha nature. Now, on the other hand, if you understand the illusionary nature of continuity of consciousness, then you will understand the illusion of clinging to outer objects as being really there and grasping at them, and such creating a new karma. And so this power of the waves will reduce. Like if you throw a stone into water, first you will have the big waves, right? Then the big waves become a smaller waves, then again the smaller waves, and again the smaller waves, and the waves will disappear. And what remains is a standing water. When you recognize the standing water, you can recognize the nature of the standing water, which is wetness. You understand?
Yeah, understand.
So,
Thank you, Pastor.
because we desperately cling to the five senses and what the five senses differentiate as something real, so and we create then bondage by clinging to the outer object as being real. When we understand that the outer objects that we imagine to be there are only result of the continuity of our individualizing mind, the manas, then we will reduce the clinging to the five senses and then to the manovigyana, which is a base for five senses. And then again, we influence the ignorance, and ignorance becomes slighter so that the Buddha nature can be eventually revealed to us. And this is the realization of the Bodhisattva, the realization of the one reality, which is called suchness. This is saying in Xuanzang tradition, in this tradition, the true nature of the mind is suchness. But we don't see it because we identify with the moving consciousness. When the consciousness moves, then it creates the impression of the subject and object. When there is impression of the subject and object, we differentiate on the base of sensation. When we differentiate on the base of sensation, there is continuity. And this continuity in this scripture is called manas. When we rely on the manas, on individual consciousness, because we all differentiate different way. What you like, I may not like, and what I like, some others may not like. We all like different things, and we dislike different things because our individual consciousness is different, right? So our continuity of mind principle is the same, but its manifestations are very different. So we may see the same objects, but we react in a different way. Suppose I go on the main street of Jakarta, maybe I will notice different things. If somebody likes cars, he will notice cars. If somebody likes coffee, he will notice coffee shops. If somebody likes a beautiful girl, he will notice beautiful girls. There are many of them in Jakarta. So we are attracted to different things, and uh, we are rejecting different things. And because we have different vasanas, different habits in our mind. But when we become enlightened, then we don't believe in the individual mind. So the Arahat, he doesn't believe in the truth of the individualizing mind, but he does not get rid of his habits. He still has a habit. If I become an Arahat, I may like more Indian food or Czech food, which I'm used to, and I may not like, I don't know, African food, which I'm not used to. But this is not the case for a fully enlightened Buddha. He has the same understanding. Food is only food. He has no preference. So he can eat as the commentaries explain, he can even eat the food of the horses and not be affected. There is a commentary that Buddha, some layman invited Buddha for a meal and forgot about him, and so there was no food, so he ate the food of the horses. A very famous story, but he does not care. I would care, you would care very much.
Yes.
So everything is different, but the same for Buddha. But everything is different, but not same for us. So we know we are not Buddhas. Okay, Johan has some question, it looks like.
Yeah, thank you, Faster.
Okay. So when we become Buddhas, we don't rely on differentiating consciousness, we rely on non-differentiating consciousness. This is a difference. And even an Arahat still relies on the differentiating consciousness. This is why he is not the perfect Buddha yet in this tradition. Zviana has something, a question? No?
Also, there is questions on chat room. Please explain. The question is from Ugne Sofiani.
I
Please
cannot hear.
explain Pratyabhasam.
I cannot hear you clearly. Sorry.
Oh,
Please
okay.
speak slowly.
Pastor, there is questions on chat room.
On chat, yes?
Yes. Please explain Pratyabhasana wisdom.
Pragya Paramita, you mean? Pore follow me.
Pratyabhasana wisdom.
Pragya, the other part I did not know. Please chant Pore follow me. Wisdom.
Pratyabhasana.
Pragya Nirvana.
Yeah. Maybe who raised these questions can talk to Pastor maybe.
I
Pratya,
don't
yeah, the she write Pratya Veksana.
Nirvana or Vijnana. Vijnana, Pragya Vijnana. Bože Polomi. Okay. Pragya Vijnana is actually it is not called Vijnana, it's called Pragya Paramita. Vijnana is a differentiating consciousness. And uh, uh, in the philosophy of the disciples, the wisdom or pragya or panya, it's a differentiating consciousness. There is a famous simile, a famous example in the Visuddhimagga, like the wisdom is evolution of sanya to vijnana and from vijnana to panya. So the sanya is like a child finding on the street a silver piece, a rupee, 1 rupiah, which was in the past was minted on silver. He finds on the street, he knows this is very useful, but he does not know how to use it because he is a small child. He never goes shopping. So he brings it to the mother, and the mother looks at it and she knows, wow, this is 1 rupiah. I can buy 1 kg of rice. I can buy so much vegetables. I can buy so much flour and so on and so on and so much fruit. She knows how to use it, but she does not know its real value, how much silver in it, how much iron or other metal. So she brings it to the minter, who were minting the coins, and she says how much its actual value is, how much silver in it, and what is the price of silver nowadays. So this minter, or what is called the one who mints the coins, he takes it in his hand, turns it over, he bites it, he takes some knife, scrapes it, and puts it under test. How much silver is it? And he says that much is silver. This is 60% silver. The other is not valuable metal, and silver value is like this nowadays. So this is wisdom, the correct differentiation based on uh, the correct understanding the process of differentiation. So the wisdom becomes a differentiating wisdom. But in the Mahayana tradition, differentiating wisdom is very important. But differentiating wisdom cannot work according to truth without the non-differentiating wisdom. And this non-differentiating wisdom is called Ore Polomi, Pragya Paramita. So only when one has Pragya Paramita, one can have the true differentiating wisdom. Without the Pragya Paramita, no true differentiating wisdom. Is it clear?
Robert
Okay.
Une, yeah. Is it clear? Okay, Pastor.
So shall we finish here? So let us let us transfer merit for the benefit of all sentient beings, and we meet next Saturday. As usual, 6 o'clock our Indian time, and what is the Jakarta time?
7:30.
7:30 Jakarta time, and Central European time, I think 2:30. No, I'm not sure. Don't remember. I think 2:30. No. Okay. So next week we continue with the text, and now we come to the second chapter, explaining how this interconnection of the created and non-created actually can work.愿你自贡的不积极，我等一众生皆苦成佛道。May the merit of today's Dharma spread to all beings so that we attain the state of the supreme realization. Om Mito. So see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Tomorrow I am starting a course here in Kalimpong in the Himalayas. It's very quiet and very beautiful surrounding. So maybe one day we can meet here also. Okay. I am quite familiar with this center. It belongs to the Dzongkar Gyaltsen Rinpoche, whom I used to meet before, but now I think he's too busy. He does not come. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Pastor.
Pastor. Take care.
Thank you, Pastor.
Bye.
Thank you, Pastor.
Bye.
Thank you, Pastor.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
How to do? Yeah, I never. No, to není vysvětlí. How to leave. Okay, now.
Masih Kak Johan.
Oke, makasih semua. Sorry
Ya,
ya.
terima kasih
Thank you.
semua teman-teman. Thank you all
Kasih.
friends.